Have you ever wondered how the Philippines, this gem in the heart of Southeast Asia, became a territory of the United States? Nestled in the Pacific, this archipelago boasts a rich tapestry of history that's as vibrant as its landscapes. A question that piques curiosity is how this Asian pearl found itself under American rule. The answer to this question is not just a tale of political maneuverings, but a saga that shaped the fate of this nation. A journey into the Philippines' past begins with the Spanish colonial rule that spanned over 3 centuries. In the 16th century, the Spanish, led by explorer Ferdinand Magellan, set foot on the island nation. Their arrival marked the beginning of a new era for the Philippines, one characterized by the establishment of Spanish governance and widespread Catholicism. The Spanish introduced a central government and administrative structure, changing the face of the archipelago, which was previously a collection of independent barangays or small settlements. They brought about a fusion of cultures as they introduced Western concepts and practices, including Catholic religion and the Spanish language. These changes deeply influenced Philippine society, shaping its cultural, religious, and political landscape. However, the Spanish rule was not without its controversies. It was marked by resistance, uprisings, and revolutions by the native Filipinos, who sought to assert their rights and freedoms. This era would end with the Spanish-American War, a conflict that would change the course of Philippine history. The year 1898 marked a turning point in the history of the Philippines, as the Spanish-American War unfolded. This war was a significant global event, with the United States and Spain vying for dominance and control over territories, including the distant islands of the Philippines. This war was short-lived, lasting just under 4 months. Yet, its impact would reverberate across continents and centuries. By August, Spain was defeated, and through the Treaty of Paris, it ceded the Philippines, along with Guam, Puerto Rico, and Cuba, to the United States, for a sum of $20 million. But what did this mean for the Philippines? It was a transition, a shift from one colonial rule to another. The Spanish had been in control for over 3 centuries, and now the islands were to be governed by a new power, an ocean away. This change didn't come smoothly. The Filipino revolutionaries, who had been fighting the Spanish for their independence, felt betrayed. They had hoped that the end of the Spanish-American War would mark the beginning of their sovereignty, but instead, they found themselves under a new colonial power. The United States, for its part, had a different vision for the Philippines. They saw it as an opportunity to foster democracy and modernization, yet their initial efforts were met with resistance. The Filipinos, weary of foreign rule and yearning for independence, were not ready to accept another colonial master. This led to tensions, and ultimately sparked the PhilippineAmerican War. So, while the Spanish-American War ended in 1898, another war was on the horizon for the Filipinos. The transition to American rule was not a peaceful handover but a tumultuous period that further tested the resilience of the Filipino people. This transition was marred by conflict, leading to the outbreak of the Philippine-American War. The dawn of the 20th century saw the Philippines engaged in a fierce struggle for independence. As the Spanish-American War ended, the United States, the new power in the Pacific, found itself at odds with the Filipino revolutionaries who had been fighting for their freedom from Spanish rule. Thus began the Philippine-American War in 1899, a bloody conflict that lasted for more than 3 years. The Filipinos, though poorly armed, fought valiantly. Yet, the superior military might of the Americans eventually prevailed. By 1902, the war was officially over, but sporadic resistance continued in various parts of the country for several more years. In the aftermath of the war, the United States established its colonial rule over the Philippines. The American administration introduced a series of reforms that would have a profound impact on the country. English was instituted as the medium of instruction in schools, and a public education system was established, the first of its kind in Asia. The Americans also introduced democratic principles and practices. They established a Philippine Assembly, composed of Filipino elected representatives, which served as the lower house of a bicameral legislature. The upper house, or the Philippine Commission, was appointed by the U.S. President and was predominantly American. Infrastructure development was another hallmark of American colonial rule. Roads, bridges, and public buildings were constructed. The health sector was improved and steps were taken to eradicate diseases like cholera and smallpox. Yet, beneath these changes, the aspiration for independence never waned. Filipino leaders, both in the legislature and outside of it, continued to advocate for self-rule. The United States, for its part, recognized these aspirations. In the early 20th century, they began to prepare the Philippines for eventual independence. The process was slow and fraught with challenges, but it represented a significant shift in American policy. It was a recognition that the Philippines was not merely a colony, but a nation in its own right, with its own destiny to shape. As the decades passed, the Philippines started on a path towards self-governance. In the mid-20th century, the Philippines embarked on a path towards independence. The Commonwealth era marked a significant transition, as the United States began to recognize the Philippines as an autonomous entity. This period was defined by a growing Filipino political consciousness and the strengthening of democratic institutions. Yet, the road to independence was fraught with challenges. The onset of World War II saw the archipelago caught in the crossfire of global conflict. The resilience of the Filipino people was tested as they endured the hardship of war and the brutal Japanese occupation. In the aftermath of the war, the United States fulfilled its pledge. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines was finally recognized as an independent nation. The legacy of the American colonial period, however, continued to shape the country's destiny. American influence permeated various aspects of Filipino life, from the educational system to the legal framework, from the English language to the enduring love for basketball. The journey to independence was not a smooth one. It was a path marked by resilience, sacrifices, and the unyielding aspiration of the Filipino people to govern themselves. The Philippines, once a distant colony, had emerged as a sovereign nation, carving its own place in the world stage. In 1946, the Philippines finally achieved its long-awaited independence, forever tying its history with that of the United States. The journey of the Philippines from a U.S. territory to an independent nation is a testament to the resilience and spirit of its people. This transformation, while marked by periods of conflict and struggle, is a powerful narrative of a nation's pursuit of self-determination. It's a tale that echoes far beyond the borders of the Philippines, resonating with nations and peoples who have similarly navigated the complexities of colonial rule and the arduous path to autonomy. Such stories are not confined to history books alone. They continue to shape and define our present, influencing our understanding of sovereignty, national identity, and the enduring quest for freedom. They remind us that the journey to independence is often a long and winding road, fraught with challenges but imbued with the indomitable spirit of humanity. As we look back on this chapter of history, we are reminded of the enduring ties that bind the Philippines and the United States, a connection forged in the crucible of history, forever intertwined.